Hey guys, welcome to week. I don't remember anymore. This is one of the weeks later on, and what we're going to be talking about today is a game we made for the itch.io loading screen jam. So, for those who don't know, the loading screen jam was a game jam that was supposed to be a kind of a fun disrespect the Namco patent, where Namco actually had this patent 20 years ago where you're not allowed to have any interactive loading screens. So this loading screen jam was just basically how can you disrespect this patent. Doesn't matter how. It could be just a game with a loading screen that is interactive. It could be a game where you disrespect patents in general. It could be a game where you disrespect Namco. Or it could be, I don't know, anything else you can consider. We saw some very interesting games being made for this, which like a patent pusher game where you would reject patents and stuff. One where it was poking fun at Namco. It had a hammer with Namco on it, and it would smash light bulbs, which were supposed to represent ideas. It was some very interesting interpretations. And then there were some like really amazing games, some interesting, thought-provoking ones, and whatnot. So the game we decided to go with was something a little bit different than we usually have done before. We decided to go with an attempt at a very less coding-centric game, so we could spend less time on that and more time printing it up and making it enjoyable and beautiful and all that. And boy, we were wrong. So we thought we would make a story game, a kind of a text adventure or a visual novel, and for the most part, on the surface, that sounds not too bad. Like coding some dialogue to run and occasionally, branching dialogue where you'd have an option of like, would you like to kick down the door? Yes or no? And well, like it starts to get more and more complicated the more branches you have, and just making a dialogue manager that spits out dialogue in kind of a visual novel sense, a letter by letter rather than just bam, it's on the screen. That took a short bit of time as well. So that was the basics of it. We wanted to make a kind of a text adventure, but then we decided to add more. That seemed a little too simple. We wanted sprites, we wanted a world you can interact with, and that would be it. It would be like kind of you walk around, you talk to people, you talk to inanimate objects, and for the most part it sounded fun. And we enjoyed working on it. So let's show you how the game looks. So here's Paradigm. We just came up with a random name. We had 5 minutes left and decided to just go into it. So I'm actually quite proud of the art here. It's all done by Kenneth. Yeah. Here you are, beaten by the only world's greatest detective, me. Mighty Carolson's detective extraordinary. So as you can see, there's like some animations going on. Characters, multiple characters. Supposed to be kind of like a mystery deal. So one thing we didn't take into consideration along the way is writing the story itself actually took a lot more effort than realized, especially considering we're not yeah, you see it's still buggy. It's a game jam game after all. Wow, he's still walking. Anyhow, it's story ended up being a lot bigger of a task than we expected, especially considering neither of us have really written any like actual non-essay or report style compositions since, I don't know, grade school. So we decided, writing a story, it would be fun, it'd be enjoyable. But we ended up spending more than half of the game jam time just creating a world, like a place, a town for all these characters, who the characters would be, what was going to happen, what events were going to play out, and what the ending had to be. and any and all possible story like derivatives of that. Like any branches we needed to make, we had to figure out how they would work, where they would play in, and etc. And about 3 days left out of our 7-day game jam, we had finally finished just that, leaving only 3 days to code the work and make the art assets. And we haven't even written dialogue yet. So when the deadline came, we were so glad to hear that the loading jam got extended by another 4 days, 3 days. It was extended to Sunday. Yeah, holy crap. But overall, like this is a fun experience. I mean, it's not something I am like very proud of, but I mean it's look at it. It's beautiful. I enjoyed working on this, and I learned a lot, especially about how difficult text adventures and like dialogue centric games actually can be. I always thought they would be simple. And I learned in this past week they are not. They are not simple at all. As a matter of fact, I'm doing a little write-up of what happened, and I'll be posting that sometime in the upcoming week for anybody to read if they'd like. Yeah, we also learned a lot of pixel art. My brother can talk more about that. That was a lot of fun. I got to do some pixel art myself. Most of this was done by my brother, but I did a couple small things like a cat, whatnot.
Building.
Yeah, no, that was you. But you know, it was fun. Anything you want to talk about?
Okay. So I'll add on to that. So, so if you guys recall, let me bring it up here. So, a couple months ago when we did the Epic Mega Jam, we wrote up how to make a game in 1 week. Let me find it. So it was quite well received. It's posted on Gamasutra, and a lot of people enjoyed it. And one of the things we wrote about was, trying to organize the week by sections. Putting in, for example, 1 day of prototyping, 1 day of planning, 1 day of creating the minimum viable product. And let me see. Oh yeah, so I even put a tip here that says 1 week is not enough to learn new technical skills, and so basically try to take advantage of the skills you already have, so that you can make a good game very quickly. So we kind of broke that rule. We figured, this game jam is a little smaller, and we wanted to take a little break from Mind the Traps and just spice up the creative juices. So
yeah,
we
push ourselves.
Yeah, so to try
new things.
Learn new things.
And oh my god, it turned out much worse than we thought. Follow these rules. I mean, it wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
It wasn't terrible. I'll admit that. It's we learned a lot. It was fun. I'm not proud of the story, but I'm proud of it in general. Like everything else seemed beautiful, and overall, it's a pretty solid game as it is. I'm just afraid that the story might not be well received, but who knows? This might be too early to see.
Yeah. So it depends, and like if you're really intent on winning, then try to just take advantage of whatever skills you already know. But if you want to use this as a learning experience, then go ahead, explore new things.
Yeah.
So in my case, I wanted to try out pixel art. I always thought pixel art was really. Actually, honestly, I used to be against pixel art. It was until I saw games like Hyper Light Drifter and Dokoroko, where I started to see pixel art in a more modern way, using more color palettes, gradients, and just extraordinary, really beautiful. So I was very inspired, and I wanted to try it out. And then in my brother's case, making a story game, I think that was always something very interesting we wanted to try out. It really sticks to our values, our studio values of trying to go beyond games for just what they are, and creating stories that have deep underlying themes and hidden meanings and all that stuff. So
keep in note though that a single week might not be enough for a very multi-layered story like we were hoping to make. Um, in the end, like, we managed to make the general story and we managed to make the general dialogue, but we didn't have enough time to really revise and make sure everything was, in character, if events were being played out, if they had enough, oomph to the lines, enough feeling, enough character development and all that. And in the end, we just hoped for the best because we just straight up ran out of time. This is definitely a project that we'd like to revisit someday, at least just to change up the dialogue a little, make sure it is really fixed and fluid and flowing, and maybe we'll release this for free someday in the future. Well, it is released. You can play it now. But yeah, be warned that it's a
work in progress.
It's a work in progress. Yeah. It's still, I liked it. It was fun.
So I'm gonna show off a little artwork, just for fun. So, just to reiterate, this is the first time I've done pixel art, and I used to draw a little bit, mostly pencil art, back in like middle school. Then I took a little break, and then was totally interested in doing it again for this one. It's a little blurry, but so here you go. So this is the town. My brother did mostly the buildings. I helped paint over them, and then I did the flooring, did the water, and then my brother did a lot of these other small props as well, like the mailbox. So I helped make the little shop here, and also did a lot of the characters and animating. So it was a lot of fun. So I've had a lot of interest from some people saying, the art style is quite interesting. So let me bring it up. This is the one. Okay, here's one. So, for a lot of pixel art enthusiasts, they would argue that the way I drew this building is not technically pixel art, just because it's using so many colors. It uses a gradient, and technically in pixel art, you should only use about 2 to 3 colors to shade an object. So in my case, I've obviously used a gradient, so a little cheating here. You'll notice that I have this, this sort of paint splatter effect, and this has actually been the most useful brush ever for everything I've been doing. So, if you look at this wall, if you look at the floor of the town, if you look at, let's see, what it is. And if you even look at our poster, it's all using the same brush, the paint splatter brush. And even the little holes here on the bushes are using the paintbrush, but just scaled down. So it's really helpful, but basically, yeah, I'm going to write up a tutorial and show you guys how I drew this. And then hopefully it can give you guys like a nice paint splatter effect, and it really gives more detail to your art, similar to how Hyperlight Drifter does their art, like here. Cool. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's it. So wish us luck. There's a lot of good games that were submitted. Ours is a bit of on the stretch for not being technically an interactive loading screen. But we'll see how everyone likes it and rates it. So,
yep.
Yeah.
If you guys want to play it, you can find it on itch.io. You can also find it at the Loading Jam. Just here, you can download it, give it a shot.
Yeah.
keep a note that it's a work in progress, and you're bound to find bugs. Very likely bound to find bugs. Probably likely to find bugs.
Yep.
So yeah, give it a shot. Play it through. This is a game that kind of evolves as you play. So if everything doesn't work out for you, please do try again. And let me know what you guys think of the story. I'd love to hear some feedback, whether great, bad, mediocre, or just eh. This is obviously our first try at a real story game done in a single week, so it's bound to be kind of, I don't know, okay, at least in my opinion. Yeah, so we'll close it there. Any final words? Okay, all right, peace out.
All right.